Hi, I'm Abby, I have a lot of records, and this is Vinyl Monday. Welcome back, everyone! Vinyl Monday is the who, what, when, where, why, and how do I feel about classic albums in my collection. If 30-minute episodes aren't your thing, don't worry. I also do Vinyl Monday in 60 seconds here on my channel, over on my Instagram, as well as TikTok. Before we start this week's episode, I want to thank you for two things. One, for not just allowing me a week's break after a whole month of 2 videos per week, surprise dropping a 56-minute Let It Be special and starting a podcast, but for encouraging a break. Thank you for not only appreciating the quantity of material I've put out, but the quality of work I strive for. A lot of energy goes into this, and sometimes I need to recharge. Secondly, I want to thank you for the warm reception of my new podcast. It's all about the women of the 60s and 70s. My co-host Emma wrote our first episode about Sharon Tate. The link to listen to the Dolls podcast is in my description. Emma and I alternate who writes the episodes, so you'll be able to hear my first time in the writer's chair this Friday, June 14th, which happens to be my literal actual birthday. As is tradition on Vinyl Monday, to celebrate my birthday, I talk about whatever the hell I want. My 23rd was the original Kick Out the Jams video. My 24th was Harvest by Neil Young. To celebrate a quarter of a century of afflicting the world with my presence, we are celebrating Joni Mitchell's Clouds. Congrats to those who guessed this one. Remember, if you want to play along, all you gotta do is check out my community tab. That's where I post my hints to what next week's album is gonna be. I host polls where sometimes you get to pick what's on the show. I make announcements when I'm places that aren't here. You can find all of that on my channel. Alright, let's take the plastic off. So my copy is a repress from the year after the album's release. I bought my copy for a whopping $1 from the record store by where I went to college. Campus was across the train tracks and up the hill. I made my way down one hot day to nab 2 Black Sabbath records. This wasn't even on the sales floor yet when I asked about it. Thank you, Joe. I've gotten more than my money's worth from this. So let's talk about this cover art. The front and back is a painting by Joni herself. I love getting to talk about album art that is art. I went to school for art history and I really miss talking about this stuff. This is a self-portrait Joni painted with gouache, made over several days as an observation of how her face changed slightly over the course of a week. Ladies of this channel, you know how it is. Waking up super swollen and then deflating through the day, bloating. It's all so real. The cover is also an ode to Joni's home country of Canada. It makes sense that she'd be a little homesick at this time, considering how much she was touring. And she was moving around a lot at this time. Joni holds a Western red lily, the official flower of the province of Saskatchewan. Please forgive me if I put the emphasis on the wrong syllables somewhere. I am but a dumb American. In the background, we see the Saskatoon skyline plus the Bessborough Hotel. The back cover is the Saskatchewan River, either at sunrise or sunset. If any of my neighbors to the north know which direction the hotel faces, we will have this mystery worked out in no time. Opening up the gatefold, we have all of Joni's lyrics, plus a collage by her of these winged seraph creatures and what looks like a snow globe. This gatefold is interesting because it doesn't look like Joni's usual art style. To me, it looks like Eve Babbitt's. Author, groupie, and collagist of Buffalo Springfield again, and greatest hits. In addition to this jacket, I will also be showing off this beautiful coffee table book in my B-roll. This is Morning Glory on the Vine. It's a published version of a book of art and lyrics Joni originally made as a gift for one of her neighbors. My buddy Michael got this for me as a birthday gift a few years back. Michael, thank you so much for the book, and you're welcome for introducing you to Joni's music. On Clouds, we of course have living legend herself, Joni Mitchell, on vocals, backing vocals, guitar, and serving as principal songwriter. This album's Wikipedia page also credits her for keys, but I'm starting to think that came from a song exclusive to some deluxe CD release or something, I don't know. I definitely don't hear keys on this. But you can hear Stephen Stills accompanying Joni on guitar and bass. Clouds was produced by Joni Mitchell, except for Tin Angel, that was Paul Rothchild, engineered by Henry Louis. Roll transition. The origin of Clouds was in fact long before the recording of Joni's wonderful first album, Song to a Seagull. Sometime before 1966, Joni wrote perhaps her most enduring standard amongst her output of standards. It was a turbulent time in her life. She was actively pursuing music, touring pretty aggressively in the States. On one of her many flights to a gig here or there, she brought Saul Bellows' Henderson the Rain King with her to read. It's generally accepted that this is the passage from the book that inspired her. Quote, "I dreamed down at the clouds and thought that when I was a kid I had dreamed up at them, and having dreamed at the clouds from both sides, as no other generation of men has done, one should be able to accept his death very easily." As Joni was living life's ups and downs pretty vividly, it's easy to imagine how Joni was instantly struck with inspiration. Quote, "I put down the book, looked out the window, and saw clouds too, and I immediately started writing the song." Henderson the Rain King inspired Both Sides Now, as well as album title Clouds. Joni garnered her initial audience in a similar manner to Bob Dylan. They'd hand their songs off to others to record first and make really famous. Then people would get curious about the writer and go out to buy their records as well. Two of Dylan's greatest assets in the 60s were folk trio Peter, Paul, and Mary,
so don't think twice, it's all right,
and the band that started as a Bob Dylan cover band, The Byrds. Joni used the same strategy with Urge for Going. She never put her own recording on an album, but plenty of others put covers on theirs.
and she got the urge for gold when
Her greatest asset, though, was singer Judy Collins. Interestingly enough, her boyfriend would help Joni record this album. On her hit Wildflowers album, Judy covered Michael from Mountains off Seagull beautifully, and Both Sides Now in a cutesy, almost Marianne Faithfull style, making it a hit before Joni ever released her own version. Her time in New York pre-record deal and infatuation with Leonard Cohen's work inspired Chelsea Morning, specifically a mobile she crafted out of stained glass. She's had quite a lot to say about this mobile. Quote, "Some girls who worked in this club where I was playing found all this colored slag glass in an alley. I believe slag glass is what's used in Tiffany lamps. Quote, we collected a lot of it and built these glass mobiles with copper wire and coat hangers. I took mine back to New York and put them in my window on West 16th Street in the Chelsea district. The sun would hit the mobile and send these moving colors all around the room. If I had a nickel for every time this specific mobile inspired a song in the Crosby, Stills, and Nash-averse, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Speaking of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash-averse, after David Crosby got fired from the Byrds, he took a trip down to Florida to booze it up and get the L he just took off his mind. There, he discovered Joni at the Gaslight South Club. He got her signed to Reprise Records and produced Song to a Seagull. I bring all this up because David and Joni are dating through Seagull production, and not long after Seagull's out, they are on the outs. Why did their relationship break down? According to David, quote, "Imagine if you wrote a song, a really good song, and you sang it to her when she came home. She sang you 3 better songs she wrote last night."
Trifling, no, but it might shrivel you up a little bit.
According to him, being with someone so talented was emasculating. It hurt his fragile ego. To cope, David took up correspondence with an ex of his behind Joni's back. The final nail in the coffin was that allegedly, Cross couldn't keep it in his pants. He repeated this story in the 2020 Laurel Canyon documentary, his own film, and in several books and interviews. As the story goes, Joni rolls up to a party at Peter Tork's place, where David and about 20 of their closest friends are hanging out. Joni and David were thoroughly on the rocks at this point, so he didn't know that she was coming. Back then, Laurel Canyon was a very insular world, so as far as potential audience members go, think figures like Henry Diltz and the Byrds, the Mamas and the Papas, Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. The whole of Buffalo Springfield, a couple of the Doors, Alice Cooper, and a monkey. That's the social circle we're talking about. Joni's got her guitar, and she says she's got a new song. David's probably sitting there like, ah, crap, she came up with something better in a day than I could in a week. She's gonna rub my face in the dirt again. Oh, buddy, you have no idea. Joni sits everybody at this party down and debuts that song about the Midway, with references, quote, to a man's sky-high harmonies and the way she had caught him cheating on her more than once. There was no question about the subject of the song. She looks right at David, staring daggers into his very soul, and plays the song again. Once again, David Crosby taking a massive L. He confirmed this story in his own damn documentary, saying Midway, quote, was her goodbye song to me. The look on her face when she finished singing the song, looking right at me. Then she started and sang it again. Yeah, that was a very definite message right there. Somehow, in that hippie way, it was all water under the bridge soon enough, and Joni met her new boyfriend, Graham Nash of the Hollies, after one of his gigs in Nashville. They linked up again at a party hosted by Cross, and a relationship soon blossomed. It takes a little while for a song about him to show up on one of her records, but just after Clouds' release, the newly formed Crosby, Stills, and Nash put out their self-titled effort. Nash's Lady of the Island is an ode to her and their first meeting at that gig. Oh, I hate being a child of divorce. Cross also contributed a song about her to this record, Guinevere. Well, it started about Joni, then became a song for his new girlfriend, Christine. In spite of it all, Cross had a laugh about the Midway thing and was cool with his bestie swooping in on his ex. Much better than your bestie swooping in on your wife. David said to Howard Stern, quote, James Taylor was good. Jackson Brown was good. I think Graham was the best of us for her. I think it's the happiest she ever was. He always asserted Joni's talent above everything. Like I said earlier, Tin Angel was recorded at an earlier session in LA under the supervision of Paul Rothschild. The rest was recorded by Joni herself plus Stephen Stills. The track listing of Clouds goes as follows. Opening up side 1, we have Tin Angel, followed by Chelsea Morning. Then I Don't Know Where I Stand. Next, that song about the Midway, and side 1 closes with Roses Blue. Opening up side 2, we have The Gallery, followed by I Think I Understand. Then Songs to Aging Children Come. Next, the fiddle and the drum, and the album closes with Both Sides Now. Clouds was released in May of 1969. I know, I just missed this album's 55th anniversary. I was so busy last month. I'd like to spotlight a real shiner of a review from this album's time, written by a channel favorite, Robert Christgau. God bless Yannick Sooth and Walls Have Years for that soundbite. Quote, without David Crosby's production, this is basically a voice and acoustic record, Joni's voice sounds malnourished. Which it is. No, I'm sorry. Did Christgau have the nerve to call Joni Mitchell's voice weak? He also said that Both Sides Now and Chelsea Morning were good, but, quote, have been done better elsewhere. He's likely talking about the Judy Collins version of Both Sides Now. However, I cannot for the life of me work out which Chelsea Morning he speaks of unless he's honestly hailing Mr. Sweet Caroline over Joni. Christgau did have some sense to praise Roses Blue, though, thank God. Yeah, it's no use detailing this album's cultural impact when I could just list covers of these songs and do the same thing. So here's a non-exhaustive but fairly comprehensive list of covers of Cloud's songs. Tin Angel, Tom Rush, Sauce, Chelsea Morning, Judy Collins, Neil Diamond, Fairport Convention, Green Light Sunday with Susan Darby, Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66, Rebecca Lucker, Judy Collins again, I Don't Know Where I Stand, Fairport Convention, The Higher Keys, Carol Flaherty, The Newcomers, Ellipsis, Barbra Streisand. Midway, Bonnie Raitt, Roses Blue, Milagro, Dave Douglas, Kim Lehman, David Johnson, and Fake Zappa. The Gallery, Marie Little, Jackie Chancellor, Jackie Ivanko, The Holy Molies, I Think I Understand, Christine Sullivan, Arwen Lewis. Songs to Aging Children come, John Bellows, Tiernanog, Jackson, I Am So Sorry, I definitely butchered the Irish pronunciation. The Fiddle and the Drum, June Tabor, Danilo Perez, A Perfect Circle. And then there's Both Sides Now, Joni's most covered song. It has been recorded over 1,600 times by the likes of Judy Collins and Frank fucking Sinatra. Joni herself has done multiple re-recordings on live album Miles of Isles, the eponymous album of re-recordings, and with protege Brandi Carlile at the Newport Folk Festival. Most recently, Joni performed Both Sides Now at the 66th Annual Grammy Awards at age 80. How do you like them apples, Christgau? Going in. No joke, I discovered Joni Mitchell through Greta Van Fleet.
This is the best album of all time right here. If you haven't listened to this, then you're an idiot.
But I didn't get to know her catalog myself until a road trip to drop my sister off at college for the first time. I devoured Joni's first 4 albums. I got closer to her material come the A Solitary Time for Us All. Soft, intimate folk music was a natural choice to fill the void of the outside world. I was still in college at the time, and I have memories of lighting incense and doing coursework while Clouds was on my turntable. I know I'm skipping ahead, but I promise this is necessary to frame my review. Joni doesn't think much of Chelsea Morning, calling it, quote, very sweet, but otherwise not her best work. Quote, to me, most of those early songs seem like the work of an ingenue. That was a common criticism of this era of her work. It was too sweet and pure for the world of world-weary, scratchy-sounding folk singers. The Cohens and the Dylans and the like. She was typecast into the role of folky Disney princess. Come on. Look at this woman. Look at this woman. Where are the birds who do her laundry? Where are the talking mice? Somebody bring in the dancing cats! With Clouds, there's a tonal shift happening as Joni tries to break out of this role. Gone are the days of lounging in rocking chairs on a porch on Sisotobel Lane. If I Had a King and Later All I Wanted are any indication, Joni knows how to do an opening track. Add Tin Angel to the list. Clouds and its sister album Seagull have the same bones, just Joni and her guitar to let her lyricism shine. But from the sparse opening notes of Tin Angel, we can tell that A, this is going to be a lot more somber of an affair than Seagull, and B, this will be a whole lot better produced. Technically speaking, I, for one, love Seagull's sound. There's nothing else in Joni's entire catalog like it. But her voice sounds cold there. These intimate songs should sound warm. Clouds does. Here's one of the most beautiful lines I've ever heard. Roses dipped in sealing wax, valentines and maple leaves tucked into a paperback. What a metaphor for lost love. The rose, a classic symbol of love dipped in wax, meant to preserve it. One tucks leaves into a book to preserve them. But this is a paperback meant to throw in your bag and carry everywhere with you. The book isn't heavy enough to press and preserve the leaf. The leaves will disintegrate, and the valentine will wither away. However, guess I'll throw them all away. I found someone to love today. There's no triumph in Joni's delivery or the music behind it. It all feels uncertain. He's clearly got some baggage. Dark with darker moods is he. He's no golden prince or king swooping in on his white horse to save her. There's a sorrow in his eyes, but still, she's willing to take a chance. What will happen if I try to place another heart in him? With that, she gives us the
No, but you don't understand. I can fix him.
spiel that I give my friends when we're all wine drunk. It's uncertain if she ever got up the courage to say hello to this guy. She only saw him in a Bleecker Street cafe. Despite all the red flags flying, Joni is painting her nails red to match. Girl, same. More pessimistic critics have written off Chelsea Morning as the lovesick ramblings of a young girl. But allow me to go to bat for what I believe to be one of the best songs on Clouds. One could easily say my mobile turns, casting colors all around. I find it's like me, always changing. Don't you see? Only Joni Mitchell could say, woke up, it was a Chelsea morning, and the first thing that I saw was the sun through yellow curtains and a rainbow on the wall. Blue, red, green, and gold to welcome you, crimson crystal beads to beckon. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day. There's a sun show every second. Don't you get it? She's the sun show. She's convincing her lover to stick around by describing how cool and interesting she is. And she is cool and interesting if she writes like that. Also, see classic symbols of sensuous excess, milk, honey, oranges, and incense, all earthy, sweet smells to draw you in. Chelsea Morning is way hornier than you think it is. I can't not mention these gorgeous bird-like harmonies. CSN were no doubt inspired by this thing Joni would do.
When the curtain closes and the rainbow runs away.
It was totally unique to her and clear as a bell. I Don't Know Where I Stand is a tender expression of anxiety surrounding a new relationship. Not even a relationship, a situationship. The title is literally I Don't Know Where I Stand. Structurally, this is similar to something that would be on Seagull. Same very open, almost jazzy chords. It makes sense that she'd take the direction she did in about a decade. It's the same openness that is later filled with instruments like saxophone or dulcimer. But this similarity to Seagull makes me think that some of the Clouds cuts aren't as strong. The lower points than this tend to feel like leftovers. It's got that ingenue essence carried over from Chelsea Morning, but in a bit more careful expression of her love. Picked up a pencil and wrote I love you in my finest hand. Wanted to send it, but I don't know where I stand. There's nothing more ingenue than writing girly love letters and nothing more relatable than fearing rejection. We do all these boyfriend-girlfriend things, talk on the phone, put leaves and flowers in each other's hair, stay up all night. Why won't he put a label on it? Oh, honey. I have cried to this song so many times. We all have that one guy who won us the biggest teddy at the fair, spun all these pictures of the beautiful life we'd have together, made all these promises he couldn't keep, couldn't commit, then gambled it all away. I don't know what it is about Joni's delivery. She doesn't sound like she's on the verge of tears, but it feels like she is. As she remembers how highly she once thought of her crooner lover. Wearing wings, you look so grand. Did you tape them to your shoulders just to sing? She likens his audacity to Icarus. Can you fly? I heard you can. Seemingly goads him into testing his limits. Go on. Make me sing this song about you again. Like an eagle doing your hunting from the sky, now he's a hunter out to find the next unsuspecting maiden. It is amazing how efficiently Joni can deconstruct every facet of this man, exposing him for the clown he is. Maybe the most biting remark, was it hard to fold a hand you knew could win? Was it hard cheating on the best woman you ever had? Damn! And yet she's so tender through it all. That feather light, almost hesitant, prolonged. I'm still at these races with my ticket stubs and my blues. You left me here like this. It just takes your heartstrings in its fist and gives it a nice hard pull. Her heart is broken. So now yours will be too. Moral of the story, don't be dumb enough to cheat on Joni Mitchell. You will get a beautiful, scathing song written about you. Joni walked so my girl Taylor could run. One of my favorite papers I ever wrote in college was about the rise of Eastern and other alternative religions in the late 60s. See George Harrison and his whole Hare Krishna thing, getting the Beatles and a Beach Boy into transcendental meditation, Pete Townsend following the Meher Baba. I believe Joni herself referenced the I Ching in Amelia. Rose's Blue details this trend. The titular Rose has gotten into the zodiac and Zen, tarot cards, and potions. I wouldn't know a thing about that! Rose's alternative religion isn't a problem. Believing in something different isn't a sin. It's what she's doing to herself in the name of religion, completely isolating herself. Friends who come to find they can't be friends because of signs and seasons that don't suit her. As a Gemini, relatable. We are enemy number *1. She'll prophesize your death, she won't say when. From the sound of it, Rose is headed straight for spiritual psychosis. Seeing signs everywhere and relying on them to live her life, Joni delivers a cautionary tale on Rose's Blue. Religion is supposed to guide you, not dictate you. The music of Rose's Blue gives a forbidden witchy mood, and the dread we feel hearing about Rose's downward spiral. Is she completely self-destructing, or is she right about my death? Steve Stills provides howling guitar feedback, pretty heavy for folk in 1969, and mandolin invokes folk religions. Side 2 opens with one of the most personally significant Joni songs to me, The Gallery. One of my exes was a photographer in LA. He was a lot older than me. The vibes were very Russell Hammond, Penny Lane. We honestly looked like them too. He was a very well-connected man. He urged me to start my blog back when that was a thing. He read my poetry back when that was a thing. He always encouraged me, and for that I am so grateful. But like most artist-muse relationships do, honestly, it broke down. I loved The Gallery for the romance at the beginning of our relationship, and now years later, as an ex-muse, I love it for the reality. I can pretty confidently say I've lived this song. The Gallery tells the story of the life cycle of the muse through its settings, summer and a bed of roses when it's new. Then he sets out to chase his creative pursuits, keeping his precious muse locked away in his gallery. Another incredible delivery with the damning, and now you're flying back this way like some lost homing pigeon. It's pained and accusatory. I love how the first verse flips at the very end with, now their faces follow me and all their eyes look shady. Such thoughtful writing. These harmonies are sublime. They are my favorite on the record. They're tight but free. Joni's voice was magic. I Think I Understand is perhaps the most understated song on Clouds. It reads as a counterpart to I Don't Know Where I Stand. After the loss of innocence on songs like Midway and The Gallery, she reflects. Songs to Aging Children Come is one of my least favorite songs in Joni's catalog. It seems more preoccupied with interesting and different chords and harmonies than crafting lyrics or music. I listen to Joni for her craft of lyrics and music. Enough said. Given the nature of this channel and its focus on the 60s and 70s, I've covered a lot of anti-war songs. Like, a lot of anti-war songs. From angry to sonically illustrative to straight up harrowing.
Then in the heat the flies come down and cover up the boy.
Fiddle and the Drum is the most haunting of the bunch. Just Joni a cappella, no accompaniment, as she turns the mirror to face the American public. Having moved to America, flying in the same circle as Buffalo Springfield, who wrote For What It's Worth, the Byrds, who flew with Jefferson Airplane and wrote Wooden Ships together. The Airplane wrote Volunteers. It's a no-brainer that Joni would come up with one of her own. As a figurehead of the culture, it's what you did. And Joni did it well. And finally, the closing track. The reason I am making this whole video. This is the Moons and Junes and Ferris Wheels girls' interpretation of what is quite possibly Joni's magnum opus, Both Sides Now. Yes, I use the Latin pronunciation because it's the correct pronunciation. Fuck you. The main critique of Both Sides Now, back when it was released, which Joni herself has conceded to, is that she had no business writing it. She didn't have a damn clue about life at age 21. No one does. When Joni came into my life around age 20, I too had no damn clue about anything. I was completely directionless, fresh out of a breakup, halfway through college, where I stumbled through my courses either constantly drunk or constantly hungover, until the Fefemime sent us all home. From that alone, I thought I knew everything. I will be 25 on Friday. The mid-20s, the dreaded quarter-life crisis, and my life is very much in flux. I'm not gonna lie to you all, I've been having a crisis for months now. As I'm sure you've gathered by now, I'm very whimsical. I express my love of things very openly to a world full of terribly boring people. Those qualities read as childish. As my career, whatever you call this, advances, the fact of the matter is, for possessing these qualities, I am not taken seriously. What do you do when who you are at your core means you probably won't be taken seriously? Do I change who I fundamentally am to reach that Brad taste in music, Rick Beato, Fantano level of industry recognition that I know I could attain? Do I even deserve it? Am I a perpetual child? Or am I a perpetual child? Or a shriveled prune?
Do you guys ever think about dying?
Anyway, here's Both Sides Now! This song resonates with me because I exist as both a girl and a woman, and it's not a comfortable place to be. Once upon a time, you could see castles in the sky, but one day you look up and you only find rain. You love with all your heart, and it makes you look like an ass. Both Sides Now is beautiful because somehow Joni makes peace with all that. Some things lost, but some things gained in living every day. Being a woman is loss of innocence, beauty, youth, identity. I know it sounds cliche, but in shedding all of that, you gain wisdom and hopefully acceptance of your truest self. At the end of the line, that's all you got. And as you get older, it gets harder to hide your true self. Every Both Sides Now has been different. Joni herself prefers the 2000 re-recording. Ultimately, nothing beats Joni's original recording for me. The guitar sounds pleasant. It's just as illustrative as lyrics of Cotton Candy and Ferris Wheels. She captured all of the above complexities in a song she wrote at just 21 years old. Not just anyone can possess that insight. I can't wait to grow with Both Sides Now. I can't wait to feel what this song will someday make me feel. Quite frankly, Joni Mitchell does not get the recognition she deserves. She's just as good a lyricist as Dylan and a better guitarist. Across her discography, there is so much material at such a high caliber that aside from Both Sides Now, Clouds gets forgotten. Do I prefer Seagull? Yes, the highs aren't as high, but the lows aren't quite as low as they are here. However, does Clouds hit really hard for me right now? Yes. It's a picture of the sickening, exciting whirlpool that is life in your 20s, which I'm halfway through. I feel equal parts mournful and fucking grateful that my frontal lobe is finally fully cooked. Although a bit morose, this album invokes it all with wonderfully crafted tunes. As a great philosopher and contemporary of Joni's once said, "We're happy, free, confused, and lonely at the same time. It's miserable and magical." And the blueprint is Clouds. My personal favorites off this one are Chelsea Morning, I Don't Know Where I Stand, Midway, The Gallery, and Both Sides Now. Remember, if you want to keep up with all of my favorites from all the Vinyl Mondays, I have a Spotify playlist linked in my description. I update it every week. And that's it! That is my birthday special of sorts. That was Clouds. What do you think of this album? What do you think of Joni Mitchell? Leave a comment letting me know. I love hearing what you guys have to say about albums that I love. And remember, despite what some guy on the internet has to say, Your opinion matters. If you like what I do here, you should like this video and subscribe to my channel. I post new episodes of Vinyl Monday every Monday morning at 11, and now a new episode of the Dolls podcast every other Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for the Vinyl Monday 100th episode special. Bye!